Hey, it's Tesla Canuck. Last week I showed up at a Tesla supercharger in downtown Toronto, and all 16 of those supercharger supercharger stalls were blocked by gasoline-powered vehicles. So I'll link the video down below. Anyhow, today, the topic of the discussion today is really about the comments that I received on that video. Now, on my YouTube channel, I've banned so many EV haters. I think I banned them all. So the comments really weren't that interesting on my YouTube channel, but on my Facebook page, there were some very interesting comments, which I think highlight the ignorance, the misinformation, and the downright douchebaggery of some of the people who just hate EVs or hate EV drivers just because it's an electric vehicle. So for today's video, what I thought I'd do here is kind of take you through some of those comments, and let's talk about it. Let's see if we can try to educate people about the importance of not blocking EV charging stalls that are located in parking lots. So without further ado, let's get to some of the comments. All right, so on my Facebook page, and I'll throw a link down below if you want to follow me on my Facebook page. So basically I've got it up here in my Tesla Model 3 on the screen here. And let's just kind of go through some of the comments. Now, obviously, a lot of the comments are going to be very supportive because there's a number of either other EV drivers out there, or people who are pro EV. So I'm not going to focus on those ones. Those ones are going to be as you think. I'm going to focus on the ones where I think people require some education around EV charging. So, all right, let's go here. Let's just kind of expand the comments. The hidden ones are probably the more interesting ones. All right, so let's start with, I'm going to get back to Dwayne in a moment. Let's start with Mr. Mike West here. And this is all public, right? This is a public Facebook page. People have posted publicly. So I'm not going to block out the names. This is public. So, all right. So Mr. Mike West here says, what make you, I think that he meant what makes you, what makes you so special that you get your own spot just because you need to charge a vehicle? I'd throw the damn charger in my gas cap and call it a day. Okay. So I replied to Mr. Mike West, basically trying to educate that it is not a parking spot, it is a refueling station, right? So basically that's what I've said to Mr. Mike West here. So Mike then comes back and says, then I guess Tesla should have people sitting at their parking spots telling people to move. If I can't find a spot, sure as blank, I'm going to park in the open spot. So Mr. Mike West does not want to leave the EV charging stall unoccupied. All right, so I tell him, again, I'm just like trying to educate people, but maybe it's, as Elon would say, a fool's errand. I don't know. So I say to Mr. Mike West here, then sure as blank, you're going to get a ticket one day soon for it. And I believe that. I believe that within a few years, it's going to be legislated just about everywhere. I know it is already in the province of Quebec here in Canada. Not sure about any of the states in the US, but in a few years, this is going to be legislated. You will not be able to block an EV charging spot. You will get fined, that kind of stuff. So, basically that's what I'm saying, that, one day you'll get a ticket for it soon. And, we know that a lot of the manufacturers, the traditional vehicle manufacturers, are stopping their investment in the internal combustion engine. Daimler comes to mind. That made news not too long ago. You can Google it yourself. But anyhow, the point is that, EV, electric vehicles are the future, right? And so I'm trying to say to Mr. Mike West here that your next car is probably going to be an EV. To which Mr. Mike West responds, so not my, he says, no, it sure won't. And then he says, so not my fault if there isn't spots. Looks like all the others to me. Screw EV. Okay, Mike is clearly not a supporter of electric vehicles. So I use this as an example of where I think there's misinformation. There's some education that needs to happen. Typically in a mall, if there's a supercharger location or other EV charging stations, they're usually further away from the mall. So, you know, if you park in a supercharging stall, you know, you're not any closer to the mall in most cases. So you're probably either doing that on purpose or for some other reason. I don't know. But anyhow, so just trying to educate people that they are not parking spots. They are refueling stations. And someone traveling a long distance, you can picture it, right? So on this very day when those 16 charging stalls were all occupied with gasoline powered vehicles, you may have had somebody traveling from, let's say, Ottawa or Kingston or something. These are cities that are relatively close by to Toronto, where you would have to charge as you were passing through. Let's say your destination was Niagara Falls or something like that. So you would arrive there and you would not be able to charge, and you could be really stuck. And that's why these are not parking spots. These are different, right? And I think people need to be educated that when they park in that spot and they don't have an EV, or they have an EV and they're not charging, let's not forget about that. Don't leave your EV in an EV parking spot if you're not charging, because that's, you know, just as bad in my opinion. But anyhow, so my point being that, you know, you've put a person SOL, right, in terms of them being able to charge up to get to their next destination. And I don't think people are thinking that through when they make a decision to block an EV stall. So, all right, let's get back to some other comments here. So I mentioned I would get back to Dwayne, who I ended up, you know, banning here, just because, you know, he's just pontificating. You know, I had to kind of ban this guy. But, you know, so he feels it isn't illegal. I mean, that's the gist of most of his posts here, is that it's not illegal, therefore I can do it. And that's another mind shift that needs to happen. Just because it's not illegal in most places today, I mean, it is in the province of Quebec, but just because it's not illegal in most places doesn't make it right, right? So, you know, there's doing the right thing, and there's not caring because, hey, there's no consequence, right? So that's an attitude that really needs to change, right? You know, and so I said to Mike, you know, that Tesla spots are typically, they're leased by Tesla. I know that there's some, you know, debate. I mean, Tesla's not forthcoming of what their contracts are like with these mall operators or anything like that. So we don't really know the nature of the contract. I'm assuming that the spots are leased. That would make sense to me. I don't know why Tesla would invest a couple $100,000 in supercharging infrastructure if there was no real guarantee of their ability to serve their customers. So it stands to me logically that there would be some kind of mechanism in that contract to be able to, for Tesla to feel comfortable that their customers are going to be able to use their product there, right, to refill their Teslas. So anyhow, I point out to Dwayne here that it's a refueling station, so, you know, kind of like on message, right, of what I'm trying to educate people with. To which Dwayne replies, prove it. So he needs some solid proof. He needs to see that contract to know that that spot has been leased. So I ask him, I say, do you want me to prove that Shell gas stations lease their properties too while I'm at it? You know, to which I don't really get a reply to, but let's see. What else is Dwayne? I think that kind of ended the conversation with Dwayne. I never did hear back. Just back to Mike West for a moment. I think there's another comment here that I wanted to point out, let's see here. View. Too bad these things just don't auto expand. Where is it? Where is it? Okay, well, let's just keep going. And if I come across it, I'll make the point that I was going to make. Let's see here. All right. Oh, no, here it is right here. This is what I want. So after Mike says screw EVs, I did ask him, in a respectful way, with respect. I mean, why are you so angry about this? I was hoping for a reply. I'd really like to understand. He seems otherwise an articulate, person. I was hoping that he could really explain to me the logic of why he's angry about EVs, but did not get a reply there. Okay, let's move on to some other interesting stuff. I'm just gonna, Dwayne. We'll just leave Dwayne alone here for a bit. Where are some of the other ones I wanted to show you? Okay, we're getting a couple of good ones here. Okay, Phil says, seems like Tesla owners like to create attention on themselves. Hey, look at me. I have a Tesla. Nobody gives a blank. But thanks for adding to the environmental damage due to the production and mining of your precious battery pack. Well, first of all, Phil, no one's mining a battery pack. You might be mining components that go into the battery pack, but I'm not aware of any pre-assembled battery packs that are being mined. Notwithstanding that, it's been proven time and again by very reputable sources with concrete data that a gas car, for the life of the vehicle, most people have their cars 6 or 7 years, that for the life of that vehicle, the gas vehicle, you're going to create way more pollution than you would with a Tesla, even with the components that need to be mined for the battery. Like the lithium or cobalt or these type of things. Now, from what I've read, that kind of break-even point is, depending on how much driving you do, is around 2 years. So if people are hanging on to their cars for 5 to 7 years, then that's a good 3 to 5 years where they are they are in the plus side in terms of not contributing to CO2. It's irrefutable at this point in time. So I think that there are a lot of misinformed people like Phil that I don't know where they're getting their information from, but they're just simply misinformed. All right, let's talk about Mr. David Yeager here. Mr. Yeager seems to have a sense of humor. Bah ha ha ha, he says. Callie, they can't charge them crews. I think he means cuz? Okay. They can't charge them cuz of power outages, and solar panels aren't working either due to the smoke in the air. He's all excited about that. Look at that. He's just, this is joy. This man is having joy because people can't charge their cars. Okay. I'll keep my gasser, he says, and be a proud gasshole. So this is somebody who's very comfortable in their skin. Mr. David Yeager there really enjoys being a gasshole. Way to teach the young kids, David. That's fantastic. Good luck to you. All right. I think that's probably the more interesting stuff. Oh, this one's interesting here. Colin John Wallace, who I would assume is very into trucks, perhaps maybe drives a truck, which is fantastic. I mean, it's a great occupation for many people. I have nothing bad to say about the trucking industry. But Colin says, so cute, you could try inserting the plug elsewhere. I wonder where he's thinking about inserting the plug. I don't know. All right. So anyhow, just in conclusion, as you can see by the comments, that there is misinformation out there. There are people who are just ignorant of the facts. There are some people who are just douchebags for the sake of being a douchebag, and they're going to block these charging stalls just because, I don't know, they get their kicks out of it, I guess. And so I guess the best we can do is to continue to try to educate. We need to make sure that we are influencing our politicians to make sure that this is an issue. I would love to see some legislation with some teeth that if you block an EV charging spot, you're going to get fined. You know, and then, you know, increasingly, the more often you do it, the bigger the fines are going to be. You know, let it bankroll some of these douchebags, right? Not bankroll, bankrupt. Let it bankrupt some of these douchebags. They keep blocking it, right? So in the future, everything's going to change. But right now, this is the state that we're in, people. You know, we've got to deal with this. That's it for today. It's kind of a bit of a rant video, but I thought it would be great to show you guys what the comments were on that icing event. So have a great day. Don't forget to subscribe. Tesla Canuck, over and out.